Textual Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
Okay, so what is the order number? Okay, 225625. Let's take a look at everything that you've bought. Okay, so this is a job that's 6 months old. So you've got a failed secure electric strike that I would imagine is AC because you've asked for a rectifier. Okay. There's a thumb turn and then there's a dead latch. Okay, so far so good. Let me look at what else you have. You have a Locksmith power supply. Okay, that's super awesome. Then you have hinges, which are unrelated. Okay, back to the load. The load is the electric strike. Okay, we got a rectifier, 7100-310. The 310 is going to be 12-volt DC. Okay, I got it. So what I don't have having sold you was a switch, however you're going to do that. Whatever is going to allow open and close the circuit. So you've got a fail secure gizmo but it's DC. So you don't need that rectifier. So what are you powering your electric strike with? Please tell me that.
Oh, okay, don't laugh, but 4 months later, through customer additions, they've lost pieces. Like, I don't have a power supply. I've got a transformer, and we are going directly from the lock. No, we're going directly from the power source, which is, we got a 14-gauge Romex cable to a transformer, and then we're jumping that down to 24 volts or 12 volts. Can't remember. We tried both. And then we're taking that to the switch, and from the switch to the lock, and that is what's not working.
Yeah. So you're taking line voltage, 110 VAC. You're running it through a transformer. Okay. What is the input and output rating of the transformer?
Input is 120. Output is, you can alternate between 12 or 24.
Okay, very good. But 12 or 24 what? AC or DC?
Oh, I'm assuming it's AC.
Oh, that's no bueno.
Oh.
Okay. You're powering a DC strike. So you now have to rectify. So first thing, if you're going to pick up two of those three legs to get you 12 volts or whatever it is, but you're still pumping out AC, so that's the sitch. You're going to have to get the rectifier, which was in the order, and it's a little crazy gizmo that has some wires coming off of it. It'll be obvious, and it's probably not packed in the strike, but the rectifier, you're looking for something that's called Adams Rite 4603. So
I see it.
Adams. Okay. So.
Well, I see it in the quote.
Right. Yeah, it's on the order, meaning it's on the paperwork behind the scenes. It's going to have two red and then a black and a white wire coming off of it. You need to go from your transformer to the rectifier on two of the wires, and then the other two wires will ultimately go to your load. But inside of all of that, you have to run your switch. So one leg is going to be powered from the line voltage to the transformer to the rectifier. One leg goes to the switch, and one leg goes to the strike. And then the other leg of the switch goes to the other leg of the strike, and that's how you open and close the circuit.
So the rectifier, from there, we split to the switch, the strike, and the... Okay.
Well, you have to have, yeah. So what you'll want to do is connect all your negatives together, which is really overthinking this. You have to, the gatekeeper, in order to have a rubber band, a continuous rubber band, the switch is going to sit in one area of that. To the right of that is going to go, one leg of the two legs for the switch, and then to the right of it, and then sitting on that same circumference will be your load, your strike, and then your incoming power. So you don't have a 510. That's unfortunate. But it doesn't really matter. You can still power it. You just have to use the rectifier is what you have to do. The other thing on your transformer is you need to make sure it's rated for the amperage that the strike requires, which is probably a quarter amp, 250 milliamps. It probably is, but you'd want to make sure that it is.
But I didn't hear that last part. It cut out. Could you say it one more time?
You want to make sure that your transformer is rated for the amount of amperage that the strike requires. So the question on what is the electrical rating of the transformer, we need to know input and output voltage, but also how many amps it can handle going through it.
Okay. Well, what do we need it to be?
Probably at least a quarter amp, 250 milliamps. Probably not more than a third of an amp, 0.3 milliamps. I'm sorry to guess. There's no reason for that. Let me just look. Where am I at? Let me pull it up so I can tell you exactly. If you were able to recover that power supply, life would be easier because you wouldn't use the transformer and you wouldn't use the rectifier.
Really?
Yeah, definitely, because the power supply is putting out DC voltage.
Yeah.
It would not only be easier, but it would be certainly rated for the amperage. The amperage requirement of that bad boy at 12 volts is a third of an amp, so 0.33 milliamps. So it has to be a third of an amp, which it could be, but you'd need to check.
Okay. A third of an amp or greater, or a third of an amp, or it has to be exact? The
strike requires a third of an amp. The rule of thumb is that your power supply or transformer is capable of 50% more than the load would ever ask for. So the textbook would tell us, you need to be a half of an amp. You need to be a half of an amp. But the load is only going to ask for a third of an amp.
Okay.
14 gauge is too much horseradish on that dish. That's a lot of wire.
And if I can get a hold of that 510?
Yes, sir.
Is that as straightforward?
Oh, it's really simple. If we were to just talk about this in a really simple setting, imagine that you've got your 510 and you've got your incoming line voltage to it, and you're powering it. Beautiful, right? Everyone's happy. You're getting power to it. The little green light comes on, right? Okay, awesome. If you were to take your electric strike and wire it directly to the terminal board, the screws, the terminal board, on the power supply. First of all, you disconnected incoming power to the power supply. You wired your electric strike directly to the two terminals that are the output, and you just look at that on the instructions. It's going to be terminal, don't quote me, but terminals 5 and I think 9, 2, 4, 6, 8, terminals 5 and 9, and you need to jump 5 and 9, I believe. Don't quote me, you have to look at the instructions. So it's super easy. When you reconnect that to incoming power, that load is going to always, always, always be energized. Now, that's not what you want, so what do? Disconnect one of the legs. You disconnect the positive leg is what we would want to do. And then in line, you would wire your switch. One wire from the switch goes to the terminal board. The other wire from the switch goes to the electric strike. And then when you push the doorbell button, it temporarily closes the circuit, allows power to flow because the circuit is now closed or continuous or juice is flowing. Lights on. Then you control it. So it's really as simple as think about wiring the load, the electric strike, right to the power supply, and you turn it on and the thing's always getting power. Take one leg off, and that's where you put the switch. The switch will have two opportunities for wires. Put one to the power supply, put the other to the electric strike, and then every time you push the bell button or flip the switch or turn the key or put the card reader or push the pin or biometrics or motion activated, you open and close the switch. Doing the same thing with your transformer and your rectifier. You just have to throw those two gizmos in that same leg. So connect all your black wires, and just think of it as the Indy 500 race course. It's got to be a continuous lap for the cars to run on it. If there are any breaks in the continuous race course, cars can't run. So when you think of it we generally connect all our black wires first, black from the load to the power supply, black to the switch, connect those. You got that. Then you have to bring your red wire. And the only way to do that is red wire to the switch, because you're then going, think of your AAA battery, your AA battery. One side's negative, one side's positive. And that's the same thing as saying one side is black and the other side is red. Just like the car battery under your hood. It's the same damn ass thing. The only difference with the battery in your car is that it's got a whole lot more amp potential, but it's still 12 volt.
That makes sense. That makes
It's really
sense.
that simple. Yeah. I use the AA battery, man, is the same thing that's in your car, except it's 1.5 volts, not 12 volts. And it's got, and its amperage is tiny, right?
Right.
And what's interesting is you can put a wire to the two ends of that AA battery and nothing's really going to happen. You do that underneath your hood on your car, you're going to have a really dangerous situation, because if you want to demonstrate the amount of cranking power or amp power, you'll melt. If you took a crescent wrench and put that across the two black and red posts underneath your hood, that thing is going to heat up and melt in about, 20 seconds. But the underlying principle is really the same, though. And you just have to lay the wires out in front of you such that you have a continuous course. And the switch is the gatekeeper.
No, that makes perfect sense.
You could think of the race course, but now put a bridge on it, where the bridge is either up or down, and the switch is the bridge. I mean, when we sit in hardware nerd class, these are literally the things that we say to each other. Think of it as, if the bridge is closed, if the circuit is closed, cars and electricity will flow. If the bridge is open or up, you get it.
I get it. Yeah. I get it.
I'm sorry, I'm literally on a plane tomorrow morning going to California, and otherwise I'd make you a video, but I've lost daylight on doing that for you.
No. This is hugely helpful, and also somewhere is that power source. I'm trying to send it out to my crew. If I could find that, obviously that sounds like the best option. Wait a minute. If not, I need to order a rectifier from.
No, you have a rectifier. It's the Adams Rite 4603. One of those was shipped to you.
Oh, I have all of these. The crew's lost them.
Oh, I understand now. Yeah, if you go with the transformer, so there are transformers and there are power supplies. The difference is this. When we speak of AC voltage, we only call it a transformer because that's all it is. When we speak of DC voltage, we only call them power supplies. So if someone says, I've got a transformer, you don't have to tell me if it's AC or DC. I know it's AC because it's a transformer.
Got it.
So you say you've got a transformer, but you also have a power supply, which means your transformer, if you're going to wire it AC, you then have to rectify it because your strike is DC. Rectifying it is, think of a sine wave, and then if you clip the top and bottom of the sine wave, it flattens it out a little bit. It allows you to use AC voltage to power something DC, and it works. That's what the rectifier does. It just clips that sine wave, because DC is flat. If you were to look at it like on a heart monitor, bump up, up, up. Okay.
Sure.
Or like frequency, right? So if you were to view 60 hertz on a fancy machine, it'll be a sine wave. But DC voltage is like flat line, straight across. So that rectifier takes that amplitudinous sine wave and clips it so it looks more like just a flat line, like someone's heart is stopped, if you think of Hollywood and whatever, right? So that's what the rectifier would do. It would allow you to power that. The downside of the whole system, though, is it is DC, and no one will know when it's energized because DC is silent. The term buzzing, I want a buzzer. When anyone says buzz or buzzing, that only means AC voltage. So you won't hear it buzz because in DC, batteries are silent. you're not going to get any audible other than a click on a DC. It'll just click.
Okay.
You'll hear it, but it'll just click. It won't buzz like when you go into the doctor's office as a kid or, whatever, jewelry store.
Right. But no, that makes perfect sense. And especially while we're not working now, because right now we're running AC. We need to rectify that to DC. Is that something I can get locally, a rectifier to switch it down, or do I need to grab it from you guys?
No. I mean, it's a rectifier. There's nothing special about it. Back in the old days, it'd be a trip to Radio Shack. But it's just, wherever, if you got a local electrical supply house, go in with a cut sheet of the Adams Rite 4603 and say, give me one of these, or something that does the same job.
Okay.
It's a tiny, look at the 4603 on my site so you know what you're looking for, because maybe you can locate it on the job. Who knows? Stuff usually doesn't get thrown away, but especially big stuff like a 6-pound power supply.
No, yeah, exactly. It's stashed somewhere. That's even worse. Somewhere very specific. No.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I'd prefer to see the power supply only because power supplies are far more robust than transformers. Transformers are meant for a doorbell. That power supply is if you can find it, power it that way because it's more elegant. Make sure you switch it to 12 volt first. Just read the instructions. And I don't mean not to be didactic or lecturing, but even I do it. Like, okay, dummy, you did it wrong the first time. Why don't you just look at the instructions? I mean, I say that to myself all the time as well. In fact, 2 days ago, I was trying to put a lock together. I'm like, okay, dummy, give up. Do the right thing.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
By the time they got this, they lost part instructions. No. This is helpful.
Yeah. Well, I won't be very reachable by phone, but you can send me an email, and let's take a look. You know what? I don't see an email that I've received from you, but I still have that order up. I'll send you an email that you can have a paper trail of who I am. Yeah.
No, thank you.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Hey, all I can say is, listen, it's either going to work or it's not. If you're going to run with the power supply, just be mindful it's 2 amps. That's dangerous. 2 amps is dangerous. Don't play with that. Be mindful of that. But if you're playing with the transform side of something that's producing 1/3 of an amp, I went up and touched a electric fence on the farm when I was a child, and there's not much, it's really high voltage, which means it's really low amperage, but it doesn't take a lot of amperage to really make you realize, oh my goodness, that's dangerous. So just be mindful around it. Unless you're going to hire a low voltage guy to come in and just take care of this, just be very mindful about what you're touching when it's plugged in.
Okay.
Yeah. It would help if you had a voltmeter too, so you knew that that you had power running before you know what I mean? You should have a voltmeter, and just check it. Just check every step of the way so you know that the juice is flowing. But, if you powered that DC solenoid with AC, you should have heard a buzzing. You should have heard something. And it may have operated, it may not have operated, but you would say to yourself, wait a minute, that something's wrong there. That don't sound right. Because I've done that myself.
Right.
Well, you should hear nothing, in fact, when the DC voltage is applied until you close the circuit. And that's fail secure, that's there, meaning when there's no power, and that's the other thing, you may have had a normally open switch. That strike in the absence of power is locked, meaning the bridge is up. You've got to close the bridge in order to temporarily make that strike operate, where you can then take your thumb and pull the keeper back on the strike. Otherwise, it'll be locked because it's fail secure. In the absence of power, and the power fails, the lock is secure or locked. So the only time it works is when the bridge comes down and the cars can go over the course, meaning closing the circuit.
If they eliminated the fail-safe was an option, right?
The fail-safe was an option?
Fail-safe.
Well, fail-safe means that you have to power it all the time for it to be locked. I don't think you can switch that. You'd have to change the solenoid, I think, to switch that to fail-safe. I don't think that's what you want. Do you want to power it continuously?
No. We've set it so that it only powers open.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So that's fail secure. Yeah.
No, I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, I do too.
No,
I'm going to be a low
thank
voltage
you.
expert after this.
Let me finish this. Absolutely.
I'm quite sincere about that. I mean, 6 months ago I wired 2 mag locks with 2 key switches and some other thing, and I said to myself, okay, I just went from 0 to 100, and I got it. I'm good. And I got to tie off all my blacks. My switches, my positives have to go through the switches. Oh, what it was is I was wiring an interlock, meaning when door A is open, door B is locked. And when door A is closed, door B can be opened. So you can never have 2 doors open at the same time. And, once you do that, you lay it all out in front of you, man.
Map it
You'll
out.
be sweating. It'll either work or it won't. And when it works, it's because this is such a simple circuit, you most surely have it wired correctly.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
No, Richard, thank you very much for your help on this.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Be in touch, okay?
We'll shoot for it. I certainly will. Enjoy your vacation.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. Please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.